Alright, today we're going to be working on this old Peavey Studio Pro 112, and this thing barely fits on my tiny little desk, so sorry for the bad framing, but this is the best I can do for now. I'll just go ahead and show you what it's doing before we do anything to it. I'm going to hook up a guitar and turn it on. Alright, so it turns on and it does play, but the volume knob is not working whatsoever. So I'm hoping that's just a dirty pot, because it acts like it wants to work sometimes, but it should be much louder than that. At least I would think. So we're gonna see if we can get it to work. The reverb is also not working whatsoever. And it's not wanting to switch channels either. So yeah, we got some stuff going on with it. See, that's the volume dimed up, and it's not even hardly playing at all. It seems like none of these buttons are really doing anything or wanting to do anything. That post-game pot is definitely dirty or something. So I think the first thing we're going to do with this is take it apart and clean all the pots and then see what we can do from there. So I'm hoping it's just dirty pots, but it could be more than that. So yeah, that I don't understand why the volume knob wouldn't work at all. You'd think if the pots were dirty it would just be inconsistent, but yeah, it's really quiet. So yeah, we'll go ahead and start taking this thing apart. It should be a little easier to fit on the desk once we take it apart, so we'll go ahead and do that. Ooh, I don't even know if I can show taking it apart. I will just skip to when we have this disassembled, probably. And just one more thing, I don't know if I can show this, but before we take it apart, but it is pretty filthy in the back. Let me see if this... So we'll try to clean that up too while we're at it. Yeah, there's some junk back there. And the reverb tank cords don't look the best, so there's probably a connection issue going on there. So just figured I'd show that to you before we took it apart. So I'll pop this out of the box real quick and show you once we're taken apart. Alright, that's much better. We got this thing apart and it looks to be in pretty good shape. There's some spider webs and stuff inside of here. I don't know if you can see that, but right here there's some spider webs. It looks pretty good in here. There is quite a bit of dust though, so yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull all these knobs off and take the board out. It'll be a lot easier to clean the pots and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll do that next. See if we can just pull these off, hopefully. Yes, we can. Oh, what the heck is that? Some weird mud splatters on the bottom of this chassis. I don't know how the heck those got there. We can put some new thermal grease on here. That stuff looks pretty old, and dry it out. I think I'm just going to leave this board connected right here. I don't really want to desolder all these because I think we can get to the bottom of the pots just fine. The backs of these pots do look pretty dusty and gross. I'll see if I can zoom in and show you that a little bit, maybe. See, it's pretty dusty. These are some beefy transistors, that's for sure. Yeah, look at that old spider webs. Just for fun with some of these bigger capacitors, I'm just going to use the multimeter and go ahead and try to check these capacitors. You can't always check capacitors in circuit, but sometimes they'll give you the values. Bad capacitors could be why our volume is extremely low. 2.2 megafarad, and this is 2200 microfarads, so that seems about right. It's actually spot on. And 2.2 megafarad. Alright, so these guys test alright. Doesn't always mean that they are alright, but test okay. And these should be 1000 microfarad, it looks like. 1 megafarad, perfect. Alright. Perfect. Awesome. Alright, well those seem to be okay. Well, the little ones look to be in good condition, no exploded ones. I think what I'm going to do is just clean the volume pot, which is this one, or this one, one of the end ones. I'm going to start cleaning that and see if that makes a difference. So we'll start there. Use good old contact cleaner, and I'm going to flip this around so I know which one is the volume, and that would be this one. Alright, it looks like there is a little notch that does go inside the potentiometer, so we'll just go ahead and spray some stuff in there. And if I can, I'll try to position this so you guys can see a little better while I do it. Not that it's a huge issue, you probably can understand what I'm doing. Man, this pot feels very stiff compared to this one. Alright, let's just go ahead. I'm going to try to clean this out really good, and then I'm going to power up the amp and use some alligator clips to see if cleaning this volume pot did anything. I'll use some gator clips to attach the speaker. That way I don't have to screw it all back together just to test. Or I can hear a little bit of grit and stuff inside the pot. I wish this nozzle would fit right into that slot. That would be really nice. Spray a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in there too. Just bring one for you. Alright, we'll go ahead and kind of just set this back into the chassis for a second. We will hook our ground wire back up and we'll give it a test. Alright, the volume pot is working now. The amp still sounds a lot more quiet than it should be though. Alright, we're just going to clean the rest of the pots and then try it again. Yeah, this one's so stiff you can barely even turn it. Oh, that works so much better. I just took my pliers and flattened my straw, and now it fits in those slots perfectly. And you can feel when they get clean, they start to be able to turn a lot easier. Alright, we got all the pots cleaned. They feel a lot better. Not as much resistance. I can see how they get really dirty because they have these open holes on the top, so dust could get in there really easily. And so we're going to give it another test, but before we give it another test, let's just clean these buttons and the jacks first really quick. These buttons have a hole right here on the bottom, but I like how the tops of these buttons are clear so I can see the cleaner going all the way inside of them. That's kind of nice. These buttons are kind of interesting how they work. I just saw the cleaner go all the way to the bottom of that long button. Alright, seems to be working pretty good. Well, let's just get the input jacks a little bit. They're just mono input jacks, which is alright. A little bit dirty in there. Grab a new Q-tip for the other side. Alright, now let's try to give this guy another test. We'll go ahead and set it back in the chassis just for the test. Try to remember to fish these guys through the bottom of the chassis this time. Still got our ground wire hooked up over here. Alright, we'll go ahead and turn everything off and to 1. Alright, we'll go ahead and plug it in and see if that makes any difference. I'm hoping it will, because those pots all felt pretty dirty, but we will find out, won't we? Plug in, we use the low gain plug. Whoa, don't do that. There we go. And power. And try not to hold yourselves. Let's see what happens. Power on. There we go. Still feel like it should be a little louder than that. There's some transformer buzz going on. Let's see if we can switch channels. I guess that would be the gain channel is way louder. Turn that down a bit. It's got some gain, doesn't it? That sounds pretty good, actually. Working pretty good, and that's everything turned to 1. This post gain knob is still a little bit buzzy. We'll clean this a little bit more. I think we'll go through and clean the pots one more time, because a couple of them are still a little bit scratchy. So I'm pretty happy with that. We'll do a quick spritz of those one more time just to make sure they're really clean, and then we'll go ahead and put it back together and look at the reverb tank, I guess, because that's the only thing that's seemingly not working on here now. So let's worry about this old thermal paste. Clean the thermal paste off this. I don't know if I can really show that because I have to flip the board out over here, but there is thermal paste on this thing that I'm going to clean off. I guess I can do it like this. Can you see it? Go ahead and place some new thermal paste right here. Looks like there too. There's out. And then I think we can put this back together. We can just like that. There we go. And these screws just happen to be 1/4 inch, which is the same size as screwdriver bits, which is very handy. I do not know how mud got splattered on the bottom of a chassis. Maybe an outdoor gig in the rain or something, who knows. I've learned that guitar picks make perfect scrapers for things. If you don't want to scratch something, just buy the cheapest pack of guitar picks you can on Amazon. They come with different thicknesses, and these are terrible to play with, but they work perfectly for scratching things off of stuff without scratching the thing you want to scratch it off of. Like that. Yeah, I don't think that was mud. I have no idea what that stuff is. Alright, it's not perfect, but it's better than it was. It is the bottom of the chassis, so it's not a huge deal. So I'm not going to spend 2 hours scrubbing that off. I think we'll just call that good. And we'll go ahead and put the rest of our little screws back in. There we go. Definitely much more clean. Go ahead and start to screw these guys back on. Alright, I think we can go back into the, what do you call it, cabinet? Box? I don't know. Go back into the box now. Before we put it back in the box, I think I'm just going to take this outside and dump it out, and then I'm going to, if you can see, I'm going to pull the reverb tank out so we can take a look at it, because it was not working and those cables that are connected to it do not look so good, so we'll go ahead and do that. Alright, we got the reverb tank pulled, and we'll just go ahead and check this out. I'm going to put this back on top of the box, and let's take a look at this reverb tank. Yeah, see these. This reverb tank is kind of cheesy, to be honest, and these reverb tanks fail quite often because there's like little tiny wires. I'll zoom you in. See these things right here? These are coils, almost like guitar pickups, but different. And they have little tiny copper wire wraps around them, and sometimes that copper wire will break and it will ruin the reverb tank because it won't make a connection, and therefore you will get no reverb. But I'm thinking it's more probably something to do with these cables, which do not look very good. We can go ahead and try to do some continuity tests on these and see what we can figure out. Try to zoom you out a little bit. This green wire should be the positive, and this is the end of what plugs into the amp. We should be able to just, no, not quite. Check the ground on each one. So that ground is connected. I wish we could check it on the coil, but let's check the ground over here, which is connected. Check the positive green wire. Alright, so these cables are making a connection through to the jacks. So that's not good. That means that maybe our coils are messed up. I've never been successful at fixing a reverb tank. They're very tricky to fix, because you can't just take these coils off because they are threaded through this frame. I wish I knew a way to test reverb tanks, like audio wise. You know, I just thought of something. Maybe our reverb potentiometer was dirty and that's why the reverb wasn't working. Maybe we should plug this in and test it before we try to do anything else. I think I'm going to try that before I take it anything else further apart. Go ahead and clean our knobs really quick, because they are pretty gross. Go ahead and put our knobs back on and give it a test and check out our reverb tank while we're at it. Alright, let's go ahead and plug in our reverb tank and give it a test. Hopefully we can get this bezel back on without taking this thing back apart. Looks like we can. Alright, we got a reverb tank plugged in loosely. See if we can balance all this stuff. I need to get a bigger work area, don't I? Alright, we have our reverb tank just chilling right here. The cord's not long enough to get in frame, so we're just gonna go from here and we should be able to test it. Go ahead and plug in our guitar. Hopefully this guitar does not like the right angle. We'll go with the high gain, I guess, just for this test. And hopefully you can see that. I'll go ahead and power on the amp. Volume. Is our reverb working? It is. Nice. So it was just our pot. Cool, and that's just with everything turned all the way down. Other channel. And that was the post gain, right? Oh, I think pre-gain. Then post gain. Okay, you need both of them. I don't know how it. If you couldn't tell, I don't know how this amp works really. So it sounds really dry with nothing. We'll go that, something like that. Alright, now we're getting pretty decent volume. Sweet. Yeah, it sounds a lot better. Heck yeah. Yeah, it sounds pretty dang good actually. I dig it. Yeah, I like it. It sounds good. So I'm going to finish putting it back together now that we know everything's working. One thing I am going to do before I put this reverb tank in is just kind of give it a wipe down. It's a little bit rusty, so I don't think I'm going to clean it up too much, but it looks like this used to be at a pawn shop or something. 99 bucks. I'm glad that I found it at a thrift store for 30, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get this thing cleaned up as much as we can and get it put back in the cabinet box. We'll get it put back in the amp. How does that sound? Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, that's just rust stains. We're not really going to be able to clean that up too much. Alright, go ahead and put it back in. Alright, we got this thing all put back together, and we're just going to do a little bit of a demo jam, I guess, and check it out and see what it can do. This is a new amp to me, so I don't know exactly how it works, but we'll go ahead and do some high gain, check it out, and see how it plays, I guess. Sounds pretty good. That thing sounds pretty good now, so glad I picked it up. Glad I got it cleaned up, and glad it was just, I guess, dirty pots. So, yeah. Which makes sense because all those pots had holes on the top for dust to easily get into, I guess. And stuff that carries electricity has like static charge that kind of attracts dust. So, I don't know. It's just crazy how much dust can get into a little pinhole over, 25 years or whatever, however old this thing is. I think this is 90s. But, yeah. Pretty cool little amp. glad I picked it up, and thanks for watching. And I do wish I had a bigger workspace to show all of the amp, but I don't. So, alright, I think that's all. Take it easy, guys. Thanks for watching.